how you see this new opportunity in the context of the EU integration?
I think after the Orange Revolution, we missed this opportunity to become a member of the European Union, and also visa liberalization processes. And only after the Dignity Revolution, and now we received the candidate status, which are, I think, not symbolic, but real geopolitical signal to Russia as an aggressor state. And I hope the sooner the better the US Congress will designate Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism, which is really important, looking what's going on in the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and others. So this is really important. But coming back to your question on the EU membership perspective, let me remind that in 2019, as a member of parliament, I was a part of the decision of Verkhovna Rada when we incorporated into the constitution of Ukraine that we have two strategic foreign policy goals: to become members of the EU and NATO. So let's not forget about NATO, and I think it's also important to think about this. But Ukrainian government, Ukrainian parliament, civil society organizations working together. Of course, we would like to see more access to parliament, and the martial law creates some obstacles, but in meeting the criteria and implementing the commitments after the candidate status was granted to Ukraine. But there is one very serious question. You mentioned Ukrainian oligarchs. And for me, this is one of the most tough questions, because Ukrainian oligarchs, they banned me on their TV channels. For last almost 8 years, you couldn't see people like me on the oligarchic TV channels. They have the list of loyal people, and if you criticize oligarchs, they have a policy, you will be in the blacklist. And it's like all oligarchs: Akhmetov, Kolomoisky, Pinchuk, Firtash, and others. So this is also the way why media de-oligarchization is key. And during the full-scale escalation, one oligarch like Akhmetov, he sold his TV channel, because he also understands that for different pragmatic reasons as well. So I think it's also a chance for Western community to help Ukrainians, because media is about money also. It's not just about freedom of speech, values, and others. And this is great that in Ukraine social networks, there are famous bloggers with like millions of audience, and Ukrainians are now tend more receiving news from internet and internet media than from TV channels and others. So this is a great chance. But all this, what Jerzy mentioned, and I'm really very thankful to European Endowment for Democracy for all the years, starting from the Dignity Revolution, how they helped us with the reanimation package of reforms when the coalition of civil society was formed with the idea to change the system through adoption of key legislation: anti-corruption, judiciary, decentralization, amendment to budget and tax codes, actually to destroy this vertical of power and implement decentralization reform. So this is really important. But talking about this, how these oligarchs and all the problems will re-emerge in different contexts. I think that also the West should demonstrate leadership. One example, Mr. Firtash, pro-Russian oligarch, who is sitting in Vienna last 8 years, waiting for extradition to the US. And as a reform-minded person, I have a question to Austria and other nations. Why? For 8 years, we haven't seen the extradition of oligarchs who are close to Kremlin. So I think it's a common responsibility. It's not just about de-oligarchization of Ukraine. It's also about preventing of negative influence or strategic corruption, dirty money from not just Ukrainian, Russian, Kazakh and other oligarchs. So we are just reading news about infiltration of Russians, KGB, FSB in German official institutions. So it's a huge problem also for West. So I think the response on hybrid threats to democracy, lawfare, strategic corruption, disinformation, we should find together. And when Ukraine banned Russian TV channels, so and we were like asking also the European Union to do the same, not to allow toxic Russian propaganda to use information space, media, for spreading fake information and others. So I think this is internal threat, and my response, since we mentioned decentralization, and thanks for organizing this resilient municipality conference, because I believe in local communities, grassroots, and this bottom-up approach. And we, in our civil society ends, we invested a lot of efforts in growing new leaders from local communities with their experience of solving local social environment, energy efficiency, other problems. So one day they will run for parliamentary elections. They will represent Ukraine with the experience of solving local problems at the national level in executive branch. So this is, I think, investment in reputable leaders from local communities. This is what we have to protect by organizing this conference, because I was really very sad not seeing two mayors from Chernihiv and Mykolaiv at Lugano recovery conference because of some strange reasons. So this is, I think, decentralization reform and also economic recovery, because we have to talk about middle class. It's key for us. Because for all this Orange Revolution, Dignity Revolution, and now the biggest contribution to the armed forces of Ukraine, it's ordinary Ukrainians, all their savings sent into, it's not oligarchs. If you analyze how much money oligarchs donated to armed forces, sorry, they have stolen billions of dollars. And now they are like peanuts given to Ukrainian armed forces. So this is why I think middle class, and I'm really worried about, because all savings people contributed already, and the businesses are stopped and others. So we have to think about economic recovery and how to support now like IDPs in different regions, their startups, businesses, use digital instruments for recovery and others. So this is freedom of media, middle class, local communities, strong local communities, strong institutions, and support to civil society, which will make government accountable and transparent. I think this is a part of recipe of future protection of democracy, and not to allow these old practices to be renewed after the victory. And let's also be honest that the society is very traumatized. Psychologically, we will also need to take care about the families who lost defenders, husband, sons and others. So this will be also our moral responsibility to build a society with justice and judiciary reform as not just a commitment to the EU, as also commitment to Ukrainians, because we deserve to see rule of law in Ukraine with freedom of speech and middle class, which is defending democracy domestically.